Hello everyone, welcome to week 3 where we're going to be focusing on creating the brick sprites as well as creating the background for our game. So to begin, we already had the brick sprite kind of already given to us. So if you go ahead and click on the sprite and then go inside of the costume, you should see that there's a costume 1 that's the full brick, and then the other 3 costumes which were just a quick animation that the brick can have. So the reason why we have this is because we wanted to make sure that we have the correct size for our game to make sure that all the bricks fit. So for the actual animation portion of it, we can go ahead and actually delete it. This was just to give you guys a kind of an idea of what it should look like, but we'll be creating these on our own. The costume 1, however, you do not want to break. That you want to leave the same. For this, we're going to go ahead and customize it. So you guys can go ahead and either click on your select tool, or you can use your paint bucket tool to pick actual colors that you want, and then you can just drop it in. So I'm just going to quickly use my select tool and pick the colors that I want that will fit the theme of my game. Okay. Now, the same thing is going to be done like we did for the bottom bar. So if you want to customize your brick, you cannot change the shape of it, but you can go ahead and design whatever you want inside of the brick itself. So for example, maybe I want to use some form of like yellow with my brush and kind of give it a thunderbolt. I can go ahead and design that more. Okay. But you guys can pretty much do whatever you want, just make sure that it's inside of the actual box. You do not want other pieces of it kind of around it or changing the shape too much because 1, it won't fit completely the game. 2, because a lot of those pieces are on top of each other, the ball will probably touch multiple pieces even though it didn't get to it. So that's why we want to make sure that we keep this as close to what we have as possible. Once you're done, we're going to go ahead and create the animation for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to hover over our costume 1. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to use our select tool. If you have stuff inside of the box, I suggest making a big square that touches everything so it has all the pieces. And we're going to click on this tab that says group. When you do this, they're both all together, so when they move together, you don't necessarily have to worry about anything versus, I'll do this right now, if they weren't grouped, when you move the box, it just moves one thing by itself. So that's why it's good to make sure that it's grouped. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use our select tool. We're going to copy and paste so we can have another box. I'm going to put this box in the center as well. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just shrink it a little bit. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm just going to extend this a little bit more so that it looks like it's half and half. I'm going to grab the other side and I'm going to shrink it as well. This time until it's actually half. That way it seems like there's 2 separate pieces even though they're still the same actual box. And they keep the same exact shape of the actual brick. So that's very important. I did not change how long the actual brick is. If you noticed, I made sure that I first copied and pasted one on top of the other. I shrunk it to one side, and then I moved the other side. That way the brick still is the same size, so that has not changed. Next, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to use my Reshape tool. I'm going to click any of these boxes. I'm just going to go ahead and add some points to change the shape of my box to make it look as if it's been broken. And I can even add a pointed piece to it. Once I'm happy with that, I'll just move it just a little bit more just so that you're able to see it. And then this other piece, I'll do something similar to it. So I'm going to add something here. here. And again, I'm just going to make these pointed just to make it look like it broke the brick. And I use my select tool to kind of move it apart just a little bit so you guys can see that better. So I noticed that the size of my outline is a little bit too big for this, which is fine because it does happen. So I'm just going to ungroup it. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to lower the outline. Once I'm happy with it, I'm just going to select it and then group it again. So this is important because since it's grouped together, Scratch can't tell that you want to make the outline smaller. So you have to ungroup it so that they're separate pieces. You need to click on the piece that you want, lower the size of it, and then once you're done, you can go ahead and group it again. The last thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we want to create kind of like a clashing effect. So we're going to use the square tool. I'm going to go ahead and use red since that's a good color for it. I'm going to go ahead and make a cube around the center of it. And I'm just going to use my Reshape tool and kind of add a couple of like triangles near it. So first I make a star, and then I'm going to move these pieces in a little bit more. Then I'm going to add 2 more pieces on the side. Pull this out. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is kind of the rounder pieces. I'm just going to point so that they're all sharp. And I'll even give it an outline too. So I'll make this outline maybe an orange. So it kind of looks like it's an explosion, and my pieces are slowly coming apart. So now I'm going to duplicate this so I have a costume 3. I'm going to use, I'm going to click my pieces, I'm going to move them apart a little bit more. I'm also going to shrink the explosion that I kind of created to make it just a little bit smaller. And then I'll duplicate this one last time, move it a little bit farther apart, and then shrink this just a little bit more. Okay. So now another thing that you can do is, so one of the animations that I did was for my explosion, I kind of shrunk it a little bit, and another thing that I did was I moved the bricks apart a little bit that were broken. What you can do is, if you want to add a little bit more, you could also click on any of the brick pieces, and you can kind of rotate it a little bit. And that can also add part of the animation as well. So take your time creating your different costumes for it, making sure that it's exactly how you want it to be placed. And then once you're done, we're going to go ahead and move on to coding the brick.